So this video is sponsored by Unveiled Audio. Thanks to Unveiled Audio for supplying the Nagra Streamer for this review. So Nagra was founded in 1951. The first big product to come out of Nagra back then was the Nagra 1 tape recorder, designed by Stefan Kudelski. He was a Jewish immigrant of Polish origin. Nagra was even on the moon in 1969 with the Apollo astronauts who used the Nagra gear for recordings. The recorders are still sought after today and can be found on resale sites for big money. In 1997, Nagra entered the home hi-fi market with the release of their first preamp called the PLP. This preamp was unique in design with the inputs and outputs on the sides rather than the back. It looked very, very Swiss. Today, Nagra has 3 lines within their home audio range: the classic line, the HD line, and the reference line. Each piece, no matter the line, is made in Switzerland, where they even make their own parts for these beautiful pieces. With streaming now being the #1 audio source today for home audio systems, Nagra jumped in at just the right time and brought out a streamer that is unlike most on the market. Let's talk about the Nagra Streamer. So this little Nagra Streamer has indeed replaced my longtime reference, the Hifi Rose RS130 Streamer. But let me say up front, this Nagra Streamer may not be for everybody, but it was definitely for me, almost as if it was made just for me. And I'm going to talk about why I chose it as my streamer for 2025, and who knows how much longer after that. I want to tell you guys what makes this streamer unique and different from the pack. And I also want to tell you guys how it went when I tested this streamer with various DACs, starting with a cheapo $10 DAC I got on Amazon, all the way up to the Nagra HDX DAC, which is an insane ultimate. I won't even talk about that DAC in this video because we're going to talk about the streamer, so let's get started. So this little box is quite unique. It's hefty, it's solid, it's made 100% in Switzerland at the Nagra factory. It has very simple outputs and inputs on the back. When you go to the back, you'll see the power in. It comes with a power brick, a very decent power supply, but that can be upgraded as well. I'll talk about that in a bit. So you'll also see the Ethernet in, because this streamer does not stream via Wi-Fi. You can't set up the streamer, I should say, or hook up the streamer to your network via Wi-Fi. So you do have to have it hardwired. You'll also see a N-link out, the Nagra link out, as well as a coaxial out. And that's it. That's all that's on the back of the streamer. The N-link out is for Nagra DACs, such as the Classic 2 that's new, the Tube DAC, as well as the HD DAC X and their upcoming reference DAC. These all have the Nagra link. And this is a fiber connection that goes from the streamer to the Nagra DAC, and it completely eliminates all electronical connections, which means absolutely zero noise, grit, grime, etc. transfer going to your DAC. So that is the preferred connection for the streamer, the N-link going to a compatible Nagra DAC. But there's also a coaxial out. You don't have to use this streamer with just a Nagra DAC, but I'll talk about that as well in a little bit. So before we get into all the sound quality, I want to talk about the features of this little streamer. I think Nagra went for the less is more kind of theme here, because certainly in the case of the streamer, less is more. There's no app that Nagra made for this, meaning you don't have to download a Nagra app and be all confused and figure out what is what, because usually these streaming apps, I'd say 70% of the time, are not very good with streaming products. Sometimes they're very good and excellent in some cases. But with the Nagra Streamer, you do not need an app from Nagra to control it. Out of the box, this is about as simple as it gets for a streamer. It's plug and play. You plug in your Ethernet, you plug in the power, you attach either the coax or the N-link out to your DAC, and you're ready to stream music. Now, out of the box, you can stream directly from Tidal Connect, and I think this is awesome. Not all streamers allow for Tidal Connect. For example, the RS130 that I've had here for the last 14, 15 months does not offer Tidal Connect. You have to log into the Rose app, set up your Tidal through that, and play through the Rose app. Now here with the Nagra, I can open up the Tidal app and just use the Connect feature and go right to the streamer. There's also Spotify Connect. Now some streamers do not do Spotify Connect very well at all, and you can hear it in the sound quality that's diminished, even the output sounds weak. But then there are some streamers that sound magical and beautiful, even with Spotify. And even though Spotify is not offering high-res music, it's what I listen to 85–90% of the time. I've listened to a boatload of music in 2024. I'll throw up some screen grabs. And keep in mind, this is just from Spotify. This shows you how much music I listen to, how many artists I discover on Spotify. And I listen to Tidal as well, maybe 15% of the time, 20% of the time. But the Nagra Streamer sounds beautiful with Spotify Connect, and it sounds really, really awesome with Tidal Connect. Now, what if you have Qobuz, right? Well, you can download the free M-Connect app, which is a third-party app. And back in the day, a few years ago, I remember I downloaded M-Connect and I hated it. I thought it was clunky and I just deleted it right away. I re-downloaded it to test it with the Nagra Streamer, and it seems like it's been updated since I last used it because it was a sleek, very nice experience, no lag, no confusion. I put in my credentials for Qobuz, for Tidal, and I was able to stream directly to the Nagra Streamer using the M-Connect app. Now, the M-Connect app brings a little bit more to the table. You can stream internet radio and such, and that app is absolutely free. Now, what about Roon users? Now, a lot of you out there use Roon, and you like to just have your streamer in there, invisible, out of the way, working with Roon. This will be Roon ready, but at the time of this review, it is not yet certified by Roon, and this is not abnormal. I remember when the Hifi Rose RS130 took a while to be Roon certified. It's because Roon themselves have to certify the gear, and they get backlogged and backed up, and eventually they will get to it. So this will be compatible with Roon as soon as Roon certifies it. So right out of the gate, very simple streamer. Small box, but it's hefty, it's chunky. Remember, it's milled out of a solid block of aluminum. It's pretty cool. And it just has those simple outputs, those simple features. Now, let's talk about what this streamer sounds like compared to the RS130. And I even tried the new RD160 DAC from Hifi Rose here with the RS130 and the Nagra Streamer. We'll start with this little $10, $12 DAC that I found on Amazon. If you have, you know, $100, $200 system and you want an external DAC, you can buy something like this and it might sound pretty darn good in that system. In my system, consisting of Pure Audio Project Duet 15 speakers, as well as Palmer Audio Craftsman Victoria speakers I have on hand right now. So with these speakers, I have the T+A PA3100 HV integrated amp, which is one of the top 5 integrated amps in the world, in my opinion. And then the Nagra Streamer, and a slew of DACs. So the $10 DAC in this system, which is a higher end system, didn't sound good at all. It sounded a little shrill, a little grainy, a little flat. The volume was decreased. I took it out of the system immediately. Not for this system. It was just more of a curiosity. I then moved into the Denafrips Pontus 15th anniversary DAC. Now this is a charming DAC. It's affordable. It's just under that mid-level, but it sounds really good. It punches above its weight. It has clarity, punch, drive. So when I hooked up the coaxial to the Denafrips, and keep in mind, the Nagra Streamer can pass DSD64 up to that through coax, and DSD256 from the N-Link connection. So going from the coaxial into the Denafrips with the Nagra Streamer versus, say, the RS130, because I had both going, the Nagra brought the Nagra sound, which is clarity, resolution, musicality. It sounded really, really musical and rich. And here's the thing, immersive. The Nagra creates a big sound stage. And even with the Denafrips DAC, there was a little bit of layering going on. When I plugged in the RS130 using its USB out into the Denafrips, the sound became, it more tightened up. The sound stage became a little bit smaller. The sound became a little more incisive and energetic, where the Nagra was more immersive and musical, but still very detailed with high resolution, the Hifi Rose was a little more incisive. So now I moved up to the Hifi Rose RD 160 DAC, the brand new DAC from Hifi Rose. It's actually a really, really beautifully refined sounding DAC. It's one of those that steps above that mid-grade in sound and gets into that high-end realm due to the refinement. Now, compared to the Denafrips, again, it's more refined, it's smoother, it's more solidified, it sounds solid and rich, but the sound stage stays a little more between the speakers and a little bit more forward. It's a really, really nice experience. With the Nagra Streamer, it was sounding, again, there was this beautiful quality, this immersive quality. And again, all streamers do not sound the same. It's pretty crazy how they sound different here. Going into the Hifi Rose into the RD60, using the USB fiber connection of which they're made to go together, that's how they're made to go together, the sound was a little bigger, richer, beefier, again, incisive, a little more crispy, though it wasn't crispy. It just had a little more shine to it versus the Nagra. Now, some may say, ooh, that sounds better to me. But for me, the Nagra was bringing more of that richness. And again, with the RD160, I was hearing a little bit of those layers going on. The spatial effects with the Nagra are amazing. I preferred the Nagra going into the RD160 versus the RS130 using the USB fiber going into the RD160. And that's kind of crazy. Nagra themselves have said this streamer surpasses the sound quality of their $20,000 CD player. Now that's pretty impressive. So now I moved up to the Nagra Tube DAC and I employed the N-Link connection from the Nagra Streamer to the Tube DAC. And here I was getting the most beautiful, deeply layered, deeply immersive, warm-leaning sound that I've ever heard in this room. The Nagra Tube DAC is it's an exotic DAC, right? If you paid full retail and bought it as it comes with the power supply and the VFL plate, you're looking at $48,000. Now you can work with your dealer. Dealers will give you a deal if you've bought from them before, right? So you don't have to pay that full price, I'm sure, with some dealers, but it's a chunk of change. The Nagra Streamer and the Tube DAC go together better than peanut butter and jelly. It's just a match made in heaven. And that N-Link versus the coaxial, I tested both. The N-Link is a little more open, a little more fuller. The bass tightens up and gets cleaner, but it's a little more holistic. This DAC is incredible, but I talked about that in my review, which you can read if you want to hear about the Tube DAC. Now, I'll tell this story in another video. I've been able to get the Nagra HDX DAC here just recently, and it's interesting how it came into my life. I love that Tube DAC so much. I was so worried about paying off the debt because I'm not someone who just has a bunch of cash to go buy these big money pieces. I put that Tube DAC on a credit card, which is something I try not to ever do. So I was stressed about paying it, stressed about the interest. So I sold it. I sold the Tube DAC. And even though it was the best DAC, it brought the most change within my system that I ever heard, that Tube DAC. Beautiful, beautiful piece. Beautiful piece. And the day after I shipped it out to the new owner, my heart sunk. I missed it. And I said, what are you doing? Isn't the goal of this hobby to find what really connects with you the most, like that did, and keep it for as long as you can keep it? Yeah, well, I regretted selling it, but lo and behold, quick version, I found a Nagra HDX local-ish to me in the same state, and I got an amazing, amazing deal on it. Just not much more than I paid for the Tube DAC, I'll just put it that way. So I bring it home, I hook up the Nagra Streamer to the HDX via the N-Link, I stream Tidal high-res, and I am immediately disappointed. There was distortion, and I was like, oh no, did this guy sell me a defective DAC? Well, it turns out it's the HDX DAC, needs a firmware update for the streamer to work with N-Link and high-res. So I contacted Nagra. I got a response within an hour from their website saying I will get the firmware sent to me. By January 8th, they're on holiday right now. So that was pretty amazing. So the DAC is not defective. The streamer's not defective. If you have an HD DAC X, you might need a firmware update for this streamer to work. But the good news is it works with coax and high-res, and it works with NLink with everything but high-res music. So I've been listening to Spotify on the HD DAC X, and it sounds insane. I'm not going to talk about this DAC in this video, but I said the Tube DAC was the most immersive, beautiful thing I ever placed in my system. This surpasses it by maybe 10, 15%, maybe even 20%. It's a pretty special DAC, and it should be for what it costs. But for what I was able to get it for, it's something that I will never, ever have a regret for. So here is the power brick that ships with the Nagra Streamer. But you can also power it with the classic PSU from Nagra and get even further improvements from the sound of the streamer. Sometimes when I get a streamer in, and it doesn't matter if it's, $5,000, $6,000 or $200 or $300, a lot of them, if you're skipping songs quick, say you have a playlist, and sometimes I sit with my playlist and I skip the songs. Sometimes these streamers can freeze up, hose up, lag. If you want to scrub the music and go to a specific point, like I do as a reviewer, sometimes for testing parts of songs, there's parts of songs that I listen for. Sometimes that freezes up the streamer or there's immense lag, and I cannot stand that. So the Nagra Streamer passed that test with flying colors. I never had a freeze up. I never had lag when scrubbing songs. I would do the torture test and skip like 10 songs in a row. And while there was a little delay by a few seconds, it caught up quickly and started playing the music without fault. Nagra Streamer's $49.95, which is a lot less compared to most Nagra pieces. But it's that simplicity of it that allowed them to sell it at this price, right? The Hifi Rose does more for about the same price, but if you own a Nagra DAC that has an NLink input, there's no other streamer you should own unless you need a different kind of streamer for a certain application. This is a match made in heaven with the Nagra DACs, period, end of story. This streamer going into all of the other DACs I have sounded amazing, beautiful, rich, layered, musical, immersive. It had that Nagra vibe. I could hear it no matter the DAC it was going into. It wasn't as full force as going to a Nagra DAC. But for me, when I add up the small size, the beautiful build and parts quality, the fact that it's plug and play and easy to use, the fact that it has Tidal Connect, Spotify Connect, which is important to me. I love using those features, and to me, they sound just as good if I'm using Tidal natively through the Hifi Rose, if not better. So this is a streamer that works with any DAC, and I've made it my reference for 2025. My reference streamer for 2024 was the RS130. I figured it was going to stay the same going in. Then this streamer came out, threw me for a loop, and had everything I could ever ask for in a streamer, but that's for my needs. Not everyone's gonna say, oh, this Nagra Streamer is perfect for me, because some will want a USB out, some will want a screen, some will want video features, some will want I2 squared inputs, right? The Nagra, again, simple, beautiful, compact, and built to last through a nuclear war. This is a beautiful little streamer that's all about simplicity and plug and play, beautiful, beautiful immersive music. So before I let you go, don't forget, I got my streamer from Unveiled Audio. They are a full-blown Nagra dealer. I'll put a link to their website in the description below, and they are selling the Nagra Streamer right now. It's $49.95. You can give Unveiled a call. I'll also put their phone number down there. So I want to thank Unveiled for sending me the streamer, which I ultimately bought from them as my reference. So check them out for sure. And be sure to come back soon. Subscribe, thumbs up, hit the notification bell. I'm going to have 2 or 3 new videos coming here rather quickly. So a lot of new stuff to get to. I have a lot of things planned for 2025. So I'm hoping for an awesome, awesome new year full of unique hi-fi gear right here on the channel. I love you all. I thank you all, and I will see you soon.